Hi, I am so excited to share another short podcast segment with you today. I want to talk about trust and how it is cultivated. Research teaches us that the foundation of trust is created in an infant's first year and a half of life. Unfortunately, not all infants learn to trust. In fact, many do not. What teaches trust is having a trustworthy, consistent caregiver. This is a attachment figure who is good enough, what research calls good enough, meaning that they show up, they nurture the infant more or less consistently, not perfectly, but it's good enough. The baby's experience of this attachment figure teaches them implicitly that humans can be trustworthy. The baby then is able to internalize this and is able to start trusting himself. So as he develops, he is able to learn to meet his own needs responsibly and to self soothe because he has internalized that attachment figure that is trusting and trusting himself. If a baby does not have their nurture needs met consistently during the first year and a half, they implicitly learn humans are not trustworthy and they do not learn to trust themselves. These are children who do not really learn to meet their own needs, to self nurture or self soothe. These children grow up with trust issues and they are likely to have personality disorders. But let's pay more attention to what the attachment figure does in order to earn her child's trust. Let's break it down even further to the nuts and bolts. Because what that attachment figure does to earn her baby's trust isn't just changing a diaper when it's wet. It isn't just robotically meeting her baby's needs. No, what she does more than anything in order to be a trustworthy attachment figure is listen. The attachment figure who we'll call mother, although it doesn't have to be a mother, may have no idea what the baby needs. In fact, most likely she doesn't, because babies aren't good at communicating, if you haven't noticed. In fact, they have their own language, and it's on the mother to learn it. How does she do this? By listening. When the mother listens to her baby's cries, over time, she starts to understand what he is saying. By paying attention, including lots of trial and error, the mother learns that one type of cry is for hunger and another is for sleep. She's paying attention because her baby matters enough to merit her attention, because he matters to her and she wants his needs to be met. Over time, she may not become a baby whisperer, but she does become quite an expert on this particular baby because listening begets understanding. When she understands what her baby is communicating, she can respond appropriately. And this creates the trust. In Hebrew, the word for listen is shema. This is also the title of the famous Jewish prayer called the Shema that you might have heard. The beginning says, "Hear, O Israel." Shema means hear, listen, understand, and respond. It means all of those things because all of those words go together. We can't understand another human unless we listen. And we cannot respond appropriately until we understand them. It all starts with listening. Another way to say this is that without listening, there is no understanding. There are no responses that meet the actual needs. And ultimately, there's no cultivation of trust. It's the same with children and adults of all ages. Every single human longs to be known, to be heard, to be understood. And this cannot happen without listening. But just like the new mother, we must not see any of this as burdensome. Listening is work, but it is a fruitful work that multiplies its investment 1,000 times over. It's a type of work that once we learn how, no longer feels like work at all, but rather it feels like a delight, the type of work that we can lose ourselves in. We can't view the giving of our attention as a loss on our end. It is not a zero-sum game, but a win-win. Listening does not empty or deplete us, but rather fills and energizes us. Understanding another human helps us understand ourselves. The giving is simultaneously a receiving. It's mutually delightful. That said, I would be remiss if I were not to make a very important distinction. Not all listening is beneficial. To a child, it is necessary and life-giving, but there are many adults who objectify the person who listens to them. These are people who only want to be listened to, but won't respond in kind. This is a form of nurture seeking. And these people usually, these are people with borderline personality disorder, are people who refuse to nurture themselves, but outsource their nurture needs only to others. They perpetually seek being heard, but refuse to hear anyone else for long. Some of them are what I call nothing talkers and will go on and on for hours about things that are not remotely interesting to anyone but themselves. It's like they're using the listener to subconsciously prove to themselves that they're important, which in fact is exactly what they're doing. Listening to a person like this is not actually benefiting them at all. It's not helping them, and it is enabling them to narcissistically use you. There is a person I know who fits this description that I see regularly, actually at my church, who, when I say, "How are you?" responds in a way that I know is a trap to reel me in to listen. I don't take the bait. When she says, "Well, I'm here," when I ask her how she is, she's expecting me to ask what's going on in her life. And I respond genuinely. And I say, "I'm so glad you are here." And I keep walking. People like this are not necessarily intentionally evil, but they will do harm. If we're not savvy, they could easily pull us away from people who could actually really benefit from our listening ear. They could burn us out from being a listener in the first place. And worst of all, they could pull us away from ourselves by making us betray ourselves as we sit and pretend to be interested, thinking it's the good thing to do. It's not. So let's be wise, friends, by generously listening to those who will truly benefit from it. And by listening to our gut to discern who those people are. Let's also be choosy with our friendships by finding people who listen reciprocally and listen to us. Okay, and that's it in a nutshell, listening and cultivating trust and how those things go together. Guys, thanks for listening to me again. This is Bronwyn with Angry at the Right Things.